From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Good Thursday morning and welcome to Montana This Morning. It's 5:30 on Victoria Hill. Very happy to see you waking up with us this morning and happy to see this guy with us filling in for Ed. This is Chris, the weekend weather guy. Is that your official title, weekend weather guy?
I just prefer bald guy who gives you a forecast. That
works too.
Yeah. It works. It works. And honestly, it's nice being up with you all. So
yeah, if you're a morning person, this schedule really does work for you.
I am not, but you know what? I am faking it. I have a lot of coffee.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, check this out. Here's a look from our iCam right now. Really, the roads are still a bit slick out there, so please use caution when you are traveling. Current temps, 16 degrees. Boy, it is cold. Feels like one. We got light winds, about 15 miles per hour. The wind chill, I mean, it's not a record breaker, but guys, it's cold wind chill out there. So please, if you are going out, especially cover any exposed skin, bundle up, make sure you are warm. There is a hazardous weather wind advisory. I want to point out for everybody, that's going to be in the Livingston, Nye, Big Timber area. That starts today. Gusting winds up to 70 miles per hour, so please use caution, especially if you're driving, say, a big rig or you're pulling a trailer. Your big rig could basically just topple right over in that wind. The day planner, though, temperature-wise, not terrible. We're going to jump up into the 30s, and then in the week ahead, it's actually going to look pretty nice, and we're going to give you the full forecast in just a few moments. But let me just tell you this, Victoria, we are going to be warming back up into the 50s.
That's a beautiful thing to hear because I'm not a fan.
I ordered it.
You ordered it like a pizza, right?
Yep, pretty much.
Like a pizza.
Pretty much.
All right, Crystal, thank you so much for that update. It's about time I get on to the news.
Go for it.
Thanks. Our top story this Thursday, President Trump continues to challenge the results of the 2020 election, filing more lawsuits in battleground states. But election officials say they've seen no widespread evidence of voter fraud. Meanwhile, President-elect Joe Biden is getting ready to take over, naming his White House chief of staff last night. CBS's Deborah Alfarone has more.
President-elect Joe Biden has named Ron Klain as his chief of staff. Klain was Mr. Biden's right-hand man at the start of his vice presidency and later became President Obama's Ebola czar.
One of the key touchstones of what we did during the Ebola response in 2014, 2015 was to let science and expertise drive the response and not let politics drive the response.
The president-elect is expected to announce a number of cabinet positions this month. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders was asked by CNN if he would like to be labor secretary.
If I had a portfolio that allowed me to stand up and fight for working families, would I do it? Yes, I would.
Mr. Biden is moving ahead with the transition despite President Trump's refusal to concede. While many Republicans are supporting the president's fight, all eyes are now turning to Georgia, where two runoff Senate races are drawing national attention.
All eyes in this country are on Georgia.
Republicans need to win just one of the two races in January to give them control of the Senate and the ability to put a check on the Biden administration.
The showdown of all showdowns in terms of politics and what it means.
Yesterday, Georgia's Secretary of State authorized a recount in the presidential race, though Mr. Biden's 14,000 vote lead is unlikely to be overturned.
This will help build confidence. It will be an audit, a recount, and a recanvass all at once.
Election officials across the country say they've seen no evidence of widespread voter fraud. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
Biden's lead nationally is up to 5 million votes. He's at 77 million overall, and that number is expected to keep rising as more states finish counting absentee ballots. And because the race is so tight, the recount in Georgia will be done entirely by hand. The current tally shows Biden with just a 14,000 vote lead over President Trump. That's 0.3%. Georgia state law requires that slim of a margin to be audited. The process is expected to begin by the end of the week and wrap up on the 20th. Georgia is worth 16 Electoral College votes. President Trump's campaign has filed at least 17 lawsuits alleging voter fraud and other issues. But so far, they're all coming up short. In a Pennsylvania court hearing this week, a campaign lawyer admitted to a federal judge that there was no evidence of voter fraud among the nearly 600 ballots being challenged. Meanwhile, in Arizona, a case over Sharpies hindering ballots has been dismissed. However, the Trump campaign is still still calling for a manual recount in Phoenix. Those arguments will be heard in court today. In Michigan, hearings over 2 lawsuits have been turned down, while another case is still pending. Also making headlines this morning, Eta won't stop battering the Gulf Coast. It's back down from a hurricane to a tropical storm, but it's still looming over Florida. The National Hurricane Center is predicting a life-threatening storm surge today. That would include the Tampa Bay area, which houses millions of people. Eta is the first tropical storm to make a November landfall in Florida since 1998. Eta has been over Florida for a while, and scientists claim hurricanes are lasting longer. A new study reviewed 71 Atlantic hurricanes that have made landfall since 1967. It found that in the 60s, hurricanes started losing 2/3 of their wind strength after 17 hours. Now it takes about 33 hours. Researchers say warmer oceans are acting as a fuel reserve for the storms because they feed off the extra moisture. Another tropical storm, Theta, put this year's hurricane season into the history books for 2 reasons. This is the latest in the hurricane season when 2 named storms were active at the same time in the Atlantic. Theta is not expected to hit land, but it did make 2020 the most active ever, with 29 named storms so far. 12 storms made landfall in the U.S. Turning now to the latest on COVID-19, public health experts are again sounding the alarm about the coronavirus, warning that it's spreading too fast to control. On Wednesday, more than 65,000 people were hospitalized with COVID-19 in the U.S., and that's the highest total since April. The country's death toll is also climbing. It's now just over 241,000. A leading disease model predicts it will reach 400,000 by February. Meanwhile, a promising vaccine from the drug makers Pfizer and BioNTech is in advanced trials and could be available to some in just a few weeks. But the temperamental vaccine must be stored at -94 degrees to remain effective. Now distributors must figure out how to transport millions of shots around the world while keeping them viable. CNN's Anna Stewart reports.
We are in a very, very good situation to have 1.3 billion doses globally again next year.
Millions of doses have already been made, ready to go, should the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine candidate get regulatory approval. This one uses messenger RNA, a new technology which poses a major challenge for storage and transportation of the vaccine.
We have to keep the product very cold and shipped in very much sub-freezing temperatures. Then there will be a short term of stability, perhaps at refrigerated temperatures, and that's going to be a logistical challenge.
Logistics firms like UPS, FedEx and Deutsche Post DHL started planning for this months ago.
We have about 9,000 healthcare specialists around the globe, about 140 certified warehouses around the globe, about another 100 terminals that are certified for healthcare. We also had to make some specific investments in -80 degrees storage points and containers to be able to distribute. So those are all things that we had to do.
These firms are a critical link between the pharmaceutical firms and governments.
What we have to focus on is our interaction with our customers. When they say that we need to be ready, we're working and we're planning accordingly to that, and we will be ready.
Logistics firms may be ready to transport a COVID-19 vaccine. Some countries may not be ready to receive it.
This challenge is probably the biggest logistical challenge we've ever faced, regardless of the temperature. -80 adds another dynamic and another problem. I'm being told that this vaccine isn't really designed and being expected to be used in low and middle income countries. That personally concerns me because we should be making sure that we deliver the vaccine equitably.
Other promising COVID-19 vaccine candidates are nearing the end of phase 3 trials, and they won't all need sub-zero storage. They will, however, all need huge logistical support to make it to all the corners of the world. Anna Stewart, CNN, London.
And a quick check of the numbers here in Montana. 7 more deaths were attributed to COVID-19 in the state. One of them was the Yellowstone County resident. 98 people have died here in the county of the nearly 500 across the state. The number of people in Montana hospitals with the virus jumped to 500. Right now, there are well over 14,000 active cases. More than 27,000 have recovered. Despite all the obstacles the pandemic has presented, there are a few types of businesses still thriving. MTN's Megan Mannering takes us to Missoula, where a unique business model is sowing the seeds of success.
Outside 235 North 1st Street, it looks like a typical November day in Missoula. Chilly with hints of a winter wonderland. But inside looks more like a jungle.
It's an indoor plant shop, so we specialize in house plants.
Claire Kornberg opened Leaf and Quiet on August 1st of this year. As a first-time business owner, Kornberg didn't know all of the ins and outs when she opened up shop, but she had a unique business plan and a love of plants guiding her.
Realized that a lot of people have holiday homes, especially in Montana, and they buy houseplants and they let them die over the winter, which just didn't make a lot of sense to me. And I figured somebody should start something where you can lease plants so you can just have them part-time and then somebody can take them back when you're finished with them. So that was kind of the idea that started it all.
In addition to individuals and businesses leasing plants, you can also purchase plants from Leaf and Quiet. Even if you don't see yourself as an expert gardener, Kornberg assures her customers that you don't need to have a green thumb to get the green light.
It is more so about choosing the right plant for your space because they all have such different needs in terms of light and humidity and temperature and watering.
Since the pandemic began, the plant industry has been thriving, which Kornberg describes as a double-edged sword.
This has been the biggest boom that this industry has ever seen. Because so many people are staying home and they're a lot more aware of their spaces and they're focusing on enhancing their spaces using plants. So the supply of things was just kind of obliterated. So everything has been on back order.
If the pandemic has given business owners anything, it's resilience.
I'm weirdly grateful to have opened my first shop now because I feel like I'm prepared for anything that comes next.
In Missoula, Megan Mannering, MTN News.
Not all businesses in Montana have been as fortunate. Before the pandemic, this cafe in Helena would regularly be packed full of customers every morning with hour-long waits on the weekend. But right now, the manager says they're lucky if they see a quarter of that business. The cafe has taken advantage of grant opportunities, but that money has to be spent very specifically and doesn't come anywhere close to replacing lost revenue. The shop says a lot of local businesses need customer support right now, even as small as making a purchase every couple weeks.
It doesn't take a whole lot to shore the local businesses up right now. It just takes a lot of people doing it.